So the Kraken's AHL team has now been delayed a year and won't be playing until the 2022-23 season. Oh boy. By the way, if at any point you find yourself enjoying this video and you like to enjoy things for some reason, then the subscribe button is down there. Real quick, since there are probably a lot of you newer hockey fans out there who are just getting interested in the sport now because of the start of the Kraken, it is probably worth mentioning just what the AHL is. In short, the AHL is the NHL's minor league system. You can kind of think of it as the AAA to the NHL. And just to be clear, there aren't anything like a AA or a single A or low A or anything else like that baseball has. Instead, there are juniors and other hockey leagues across the globe that players can also be selected from or go and play once they've been drafted. But all of that is outside of the scope of today's video. For now, we're just going to stick to the AHL, which again is the minor league system for the NHL and is where players get called up from when they come to join the league for the first time. Now, admittedly, to many of you, this is probably old news. We did actually hear about this about 3 weeks ago, but I'm just now getting to it, so sorry for the delay. But like I said in the opening, we did hear officially in mid-September that the AHL affiliate team for the Kraken will have their debut delayed by a year and won't start play until the 2022-23 season. The team had originally planned to play in Palm Springs, California, southeast of LA. As we heard last summer that OVG, which is the group that owns the Kraken, and the Agua Caliente group of Cahuilla Native Americans, and sorry if I butchered that name, had announced plans to build a $250 million, 10,000-seat stadium and sports complex, which would also include a second sheet of ice for the community. Now, the goal and original plan for this arena was to have it built and ready for the team to start the same year as the Kraken in the 2021-22 season. But in February, just as the coronavirus was starting to take hold in the US, we got the first whiff that things might not be going fully to plan in time to have the team ready for that season, as we heard that the groundbreaking for the stadium was being delayed. And then just a couple months later, with the Agua Caliente group in hot water financially due to the outbreak of the virus, they were forced to pull out, leaving OVG to find a new place to put the stadium and its AHL team. Which in the end sounds like it might have been for the best, because although the businesses and hotels in the area were excited about the idea of a brand new stadium which would bring a whole lot of out-of-towners, a lot of the people who live in that area, which is largely suburban, were not too excited about the extra traffic and noise around game days that would also come with it. And the team still did have a lot of work ahead of them when it came to planning traffic and parking solutions on game days. Fortunately though, for OVG and the Kraken, they were able to find another suitable location and partner to build the stadium in a relatively short amount of time, as they'll be able to move forward with largely the same plan as before for a fully privately funded stadium, just now in a new location, and with their new partner HN and Francis C. Berger Foundation, which is a nonprofit group in the Palm Desert where the new stadium will now be built. And in case you're like I was and have no idea where Palm Desert is, well, it turns out that it's just a few miles down I-10, or the 10 as Californians call it, which puts it about 15 miles away, or a 20-minute drive from the original site for the arena to be built. So I suppose the biggest piece of good news to come out of all of this is that the arena and team will be staying in largely the same location and same community it would have been in before, which is very good news for that Palm Desert community, considering that their only existing sheet of ice coming into this year was forced to close due to COVID. So now with the second sheet of ice that the team is bringing open for community events, they will be able to once again try and grow hockey in the region. On top of that though, the good news for OVG with this new location is that there is a lot more space for them to spread out, which should ease some of their traffic and parking issues that they were going to have in the previous location. Plus, with the new location also right off of the freeway, it should make it more accessible, especially for public transport as well. As far as other ways this could potentially affect the team, they have said that they aren't sure whether or not they're going to keep the Palm Springs name with the new location. Although, with it only being 15 minutes away, it wouldn't necessarily be unprecedented for them to go with Palm Springs, which is the more recognizable name. After all, there are plenty of professional teams that use the bigger city name rather than the city that they actually play in, like the 49ers, for example, who moved to Santa Clara, which is closer to San Jose than it is to San Francisco. And besides, aside from that, the team also hasn't picked what its nickname is going to be yet, so if you've missed all the arguing and back and forth that fans had over what Seattle's name was going to be, well, you can get on board with this one. Since we're on the subject anyway, for what it's worth, although there were 6 names that the teams seemed to be considering early on, which included Falcons, Eagles, Hawks, Suns, Firebirds, and Dragons, we already know that Firebirds was one that they were turned down from taking, so they'll probably go with one of the other ones. And with the Seattle team going with the Kraken, I wouldn't be too surprised to see the Dragons as the name for the AHL team. Okay, but now for the part that most of you are probably interested in. How does this affect the Kraken? I mean, look, it's obviously not good news that the AHL team is being delayed a year and won't be able to play together until their second season, but it's also not necessarily that bad of news, as this is definitely not unprecedented, with most teams not having an AHL team in their first year. I mean, just Vegas, for example, hasn't had an AHL team in each of its first 3 years and will just have its AHL team, the Silver Knights, starting in this next season. And don't worry, just because the Kraken don't have an AHL affiliate doesn't mean that they won't have AHL players. They will still have a full set of AHL players, but they will just be kind of split up and distributed across the other teams in the league, and won't come together until that second season when they will all start playing together. So again, overall, this isn't the news that anybody would have wanted to hear, and it isn't what was originally planned. But considering we did kind of see this coming for a while ever since February, it does seem to have turned out better than we could have hoped for it to have done. And just in case you did run across the headline from, I think it was the Seattle Times, that said that the Seattle Kraken's first season could be delayed, well, don't worry too much. That's not anything to do with the stadium. They still are on track to have that thing done in time for the regular start of the 2021-22 season. That article was more just saying that the NHL as a whole could delay the 2021-22 season to start more in November or December, depending on what happens with this upcoming season and the time frame they could be looking at for that one. So don't worry, we're still on track for a normal start, assuming that the NHL is also ready for that. So with that cleared up, or at least I hope I cleared it up, if you have made it to this point in the video, as always, thank you very much for watching. If you did like it, do hit that like button down below. If you really liked it, maybe even enjoyed it, the subscribe button is still down there. Otherwise, I'd love to hear your thoughts or other things that you'd like to hear me talk about down in the comments section below. Otherwise, until next time, stay safe out there and be good to each other. Peace!